Kabirabad to Vimaleswar. The Narmada's nature had changed after coming to Gujarat. She flowed calmly and steadily, because she no longer needed to battle her way forward. The rocks she encountered earlier in her course had given way to sand and earth. The Narmada's bed had become broad and her pace leisurely. She had begun to speak less and listen more. The five elements of which the Narmada's body was formed, water, rock, cascade, sound and curve, were living, one by one. First to go where the water falls, then the rocks. With the rocks, the sounds. The curves, too, were less sweeping than before. We crossed the Narmada's shallow stream and reached Kabirabad. Saint Kabir had come here, it is said. By his grace, a banyan tree had grown so huge that it spread over the whole island. Thousands of people could seek shelter under the green shade of this huge and venerable tree. Even though only a small portion of the tree remained, it was a fitting memorial to the past. We felt very glad to be there in that solitude. It was our first opportunity to spend the night on an island. It was the dark fortnight of the lunar month. I noticed that there was as much moonlight in now as in the bright fortnight. The only difference was in nomenclature. The next morning, crossing back over the Narmada, we reached the south bank again and resumed walking beside the river. At various places, farmers were using electricity to pump water from the river for irrigation. Besides cotton and sugarcane, there were extensive banana plantations. Walking through the banana plantations was very pleasant. A village appeared ahead, Marhi. There a young ascetic gave us a hearty welcome. He pressed us to stay, but we were in a hurry. If you can't stay the night, then at least have lunch before you leave. We could not resist his hospitality. Somehow or other, the subject of snakes came up and he told us this experience. Once, when I was a child, a snake bit me. At first I was scared stiff. Then I took off my sacred thread and tied it tightly a little above the bite. Then I cut the bite open so a lot of blood flowed out. My mother was very worried. She sent for the witch doctor. He said, "First of all, take off the sacred thread, then my spells will work." I replied, "I will die, but I won't take it off." Then someone said, "Give him a lot of ghee to drink. That will make the poison come out." They gave me a liter of ghee to drink. Then I said, "Let me sleep." Everyone was against that, but I took no notice of them. I woke up in the morning perfectly well. I told my mother, "Mother, it would be good if a snake bit me every day." "Why?" she asked, shocked. "I would get to drink a liter of ghee every day." At lunchtime, some old men ate with us. This ascetic ran a sort of old people's home. After the meal was served, everyone prayed together. At the end of the prayer, the ascetic said very respectfully, "Revered people, please take your meal." We went on from there, along the bank of the Narmada. The village of Ucheria was situated on the bank of a tributary river farther on. A gentleman who had accompanied us from Kabirabad left us there. "Now you are going, leaving us midstream," I said. "Whether I leave you now or later, it will always be midstream," he replied. We found a road onwards from there, with a railway track alongside it. A train went by, blowing smoke over us. We had to leave the Narmada behind then, and reach the sea by road. The road was boring, but that was the only way. The river bank was desolate and unpeopled. The tributary confluences ahead, known locally as bays, were very murky and muddy, which made crossing them even more difficult. Also, the Narmada's water had become progressively salty, and the shore an uninhabited, treeless wasteland, so we realized that we too must take to the road. Along the way, a sarangi player was singing a song, so we stopped to listen. Millions of troubles beset me in life. How come I stay alive? His voice was melodious. Now and then he broke off the heat and then picked it up again. A mood of deep melancholy emanated from this song, spreading a shadow of sadness all around. We reached Uchali in the afternoon, where Narmadanandaji had his ashram. He had completed the Narmada pilgrimage a long time ago and had published a detailed account in Gujarati. I had enjoyed reading it and was eager to meet him, but he was away, so I could not meet him. We stayed the night at his ashram. Students from the village took very good care of us. There were many peacocks here too. I could sketch them up close. On the second day, we reached Ankleshwar before noon. It was about 10 kilometers away from the Narmada. There were natural gas and oil wells nearby, which had transformed it into a big industrial city. Flames from the oil wells flared into the night sky like blood. We stayed the night in Sajod and left in the morning. The confluence of the river and the sea was 1 or 2 days away. Anil could not walk further. He had stopped frequently along the way and limped as far as Hansot. But there was no question of him walking further. His feet had terrible blisters from his sandals and shoes. Anil and Malai were forced to take a bus from there. Samlal and I continued on foot. Tar melted on the road. We walked very fast, as if rushing to put out a fire. The straight, flat road seemed endless. There were acacia bushes with perilous thorns on both sides. Exhausted but happy, we reached Katpur in the afternoon. Katpur is not the last village on the Narmada. Vimaleswar is, but the ferry across the river leaves from there, so crowds of pilgrims gather in Katpur. When we arrived, there were only 7 pilgrims. With us, it made 11, but until there were about 25 or 30, the boatman would not launch the boat. The following morning we went to Vimaleswar. The Narmada merges with the sea so very gently that it is difficult to discern where the river ends and the sea begins. The Narmada's water is saline for the last 50 kilometers. Still, Vimaleswar is the last village on the south bank of the river and therefore considered the meeting point of the river and the sea. The Narmada's 1,312 km long journey ends at Vimaleswar. Who would believe that this is the same tiny trickle of water that set out from Amarkantak? She set out from Amarkantak with enthusiasm. She feels a sense of completion on reaching the end of a long journey. The joy of the pilgrims is beyond measure when they see the sea after months of hard travel on foot. My happiness was infinite. At last we had reached the sea. My journey from the Narmada's source to the estuary was complete. The great dream of my life had come true. My hands joined in prayer of their own accord. No words came. Instead, tears of undescribable joy welled up in my eyes. Sitting in silence for some time, I sang the praises of the Narmada deep within my heart. Mother Narmada, you fill me with joy. You make me young. You are ever renewed in your everlasting beauty. You are known, yet unknown, a stranger. Noble river, you are known to me since childhood, and yet I could see only a glimpse of your loveliness. It feels as if you are saying to the ocean, I have arrived, I have fulfilled my life's work, now I can come to you with a clear conscience. And the sea greets you with open arms. The Narmada had reached the end of her journey after seeing so much. Surely, pausing a little, looking back, she, too, must recall memories of her journey. Memories of mountains, forests, valleys, holy pilgrimage sites, beaches, quays, fields and basins. I bathed at the sacred confluence of the Narmada with the sea. The river was broad and shallow, the water salty, but I bathed anyway. My only regret was not being able to share my joy with all my friends. The Narmada is extremely shallow here. A boat could not have negotiated through the silt. That is why it left from Katpur. Perhaps in the past it went from Vimaleswar. We went back from there to Katpur. This was our second day there, but not one Parikramavasi had arrived. Now they would arrive after Diwali. We simply could not stay there till then. The fisherman's hamlet was outside the village. Guman, who ferried the pilgrims across to the other shore, lived there. I met him and explained our problem. The Narmada is about 20 kilometers wide here at the estuary. He said, it takes 10 hours going over. If the wind is against us, it can take even longer. And it takes just as long coming back. We have to earn our living by it. We get something by way of ferry fare from the pilgrims. I will give you something for your trouble, I said. How much? 50 rupees? My partner has gone fishing on the sea, so I can't go. But I will ask someone else. He asked 2 or 3 boatmen, but nobody was willing to go. I was ready to bargain, but they were not even interested in negotiating. We stayed there for about 2 hours. At last we came away, disappointed. Had all our efforts thus far been for nothing? I refused to give up hope. Somehow or the other, we would find a way out. When I woke up in the morning, there was Guman in front of me. We will leave tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock. Come to the river bank by 4, all of you. My optimism had been justified. We wrote letters all day, postcards, on which we could also draw sketches. Anil wrote the most. As we posted our letters, I said a little prayer for fear that my letters might not reach. Go, my son. May your journey be successful. Reach your destination. May there be no unnecessary delay on the way. May the God of the postal service protect you. A little later, we went back to the post office to buy stamps. Our letters were still on the postmaster's desk. The good postmaster, indicating one of the letters we had handed in, said, Look, this one's absolutely blank. Only the address is written. Perhaps you forgot to write it. The postcard really was blank. Anil had written it. I asked him to write, but he flatly refused. It is all right as it is. There's a kind of silent dialogue going on between this friend and me. So the card carried Anil's silence as it went. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Guman's son came to get us. Both the sannyasis and a few pilgrims had gone to bathe in the water of the canal, so we had to wait a little. Reaching the shore of the Narmada, we put our luggage in the boat, then pushed it out. It splashed gently into the water. With a lot of bustle, we all climbed into the boat. Off we go. The next moment, the boat began to move swiftly towards the sea on the ebbing tide, in total darkness.